On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we bring you the latest updates from OU training camp. Then we talk some Will Howard, Mike Gundy, and college football playoff seeding in the college football roundup. And we finish with our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast. Rate it 5 stars and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, August 18th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of August, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Ted Lehman, how we doing, sir?
Fantastic. Doing great. No
Let's
complaints here.
you had you were able to make it to the former player gathering on Saturday. I was unable to make it, but before we dive into some of these training camp questions that people have sent in, just how much fun was it seeing some of some of the other former players this weekend?
It was great. There was a bunch of people there. Got to see guys from all different eras. It was really cool. A bunch of guys drove up from Texas and from different places. So it was great to see some of those guys. I saw a couple of guys that I probably hadn't seen since, I don't know, 15 years maybe. It's cool.
You were rocking the Oklahoma Breakdown shirt too, my man.
Yes.
Good branding. Well done, sir. We we got such a large response last time we asked you guys for just questions that you have about the team right now that we decided to go ahead and do it again. And we got a lot of good questions. Again, let's start here, Ted. This one comes from Doomer 405. What a name. He said, given the better defenses we will face this season, what would be an acceptable stat line for Jackson Arnold's first season? He has 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 20 and 5. Ted, that's a great question from our man
Yeah.
Doomer 405.
It feels like with the way the game is played currently, double digit interceptions for a quarterback is like that's where you start to get to the number that stands out a little bit, which, considering most guys or the good players are going to throw mid 20 to low 30 touchdowns. I mean, that's a great ratio. I mean, historically, if you're 2 or 3 to 1, you're doing pretty good, but that's changed in recent years. I would say that if Jackson Arnold stays in single digit interceptions, you're probably going to be happy as long as the touchdown. I think anywhere in the 20s, mid 20s, you would like it to be higher, closer to 30, obviously, but I think that would be acceptable. I mean, and the interceptions, a lot of those things, it kind of depends. Like some interception, there's never a good interception, but if you're heaving a Hail Mary into the end zone before halftime and it gets intercepted, those are a little different. So I don't know. I guess the easy answer, single digit interceptions.
I think that's a good answer. And I do want to make something clear. Like, Jackson Arnold is doing fine in training camp.
Yes.
The offensive line situation in front of him is not ideal. He's turned it over some, but many of them are like he's trying to be aggressive with the football and push it down the field, which personally I thought there needed to be more of that last season. And I don't mind him taking some chances with the football, pushing it down the field. There's a fine balance between aggressive and dumb with the football.
Right.
But I think Jackson is kind of finding that balance. I assume that continues to be, what you've seen out there at practice, Ted.
Yeah. I think Jackson Arnold has been, when I've seen, it's such a small sample size because they're going all day, every day, pretty much. But from what I've seen, I think he looks good. He's athletic. He looks like he's in command of the offense. Um, they're battling through some injury stuff on the offensive line, which makes some things really difficult for him. But it ain't going to look like that the entire season. They're going against a defense that is really good, knows the offense. I mean, the more you play against each other, the more you know it, and you can kind of pin your ears back. And there's different, little tells that you pick up on that you don't throughout a regular game. So I don't know. I I am not. I, I was gonna say I'm not concerned with Jackson Arnold. Like how the quarterback plays at Oklahoma is the main concern. Like you've got to have a really good quarterback to get where you want to go. So I'm not saying that I feel comfortable with where he's at right now.
I think looking at a couple of the quarterbacks that I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but that I view their teams kind of on the same tier as OU. I think Ole Miss is a team that a lot of people expect to go to the college football playoff this year.
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback, Jackson Dart, last season was 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He also had 8 rushing touchdowns. Now, the year before that, his first year starting in the SEC, he was 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, only had 1 rushing touchdown. I would really like for Jackson Arnold's year 1 in the SEC to look more like Jackson Dart's year 2 than Jackson Dart's year 1.
Right. Yeah.
23-5 and then adding 8 rushing touchdowns. So you look at it, that's 31 total touchdowns and 5 interceptions. You get that from Jackson Arnold, you're feeling incredible if you're Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley. I think that I don't know if that's a realistic expectation. I'm really not sure, but that's what Dart did a year ago, and they're expecting him to be even better with the weapons they have around him. And that's kind of where you need to be, that 30 to 35 total touchdown number, and then somewhere 5 to 8 interceptions. I
Yeah.
kind of think if Oklahoma wants to have the season that they want to have, that's what Jackson Arnold's numbers have to look like.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that the rushing touchdowns, I mean, they could end up finding something really good with him in the running game. That's going to help some things out. I mean, if they're going to be limited at some spots, like we talked, they're battling some injury stuff on the offensive line right now, which is, that's not a problem that's unique to Oklahoma. That's training camp issues. Everyone has their issues right now. That just happens to be one that we're rolling through, and there's some ways that offensively you can help mitigate that. And quarterback run game is a quick one to transfer a lot of that stress all of a sudden to the edge of a defense instead of maybe up the middle. So I don't know. I think that single digits, and if you combine his rushing and passing touchdowns, if you are in the high 20s, low 30s, I think we'd be happy with that.
Jalen Milroe a year ago, remember Alabama goes to the playoff?
Mm-hmm.
That's where OU wants to be, right? In the college football playoff. He was 35 total touchdowns, 12 of those were rushing.
Yeah.
That guy can run.
Yes.
Jackson Arnold is not the athlete that Jalen Milroe is. However, I think Jackson Arnold is a better passer than Jalen Milroe was, at least the Jalen Milroe we saw last season.
Right.
I don't know if he's improved significantly. I haven't seen him, but he was 35 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. It's
Yep.
kind of where you need to be, that 30 to 35, and then 5 to 8 interceptions. It's just if you want to make the college football playoff, it feels like that's right where Jackson Arnold's got to be.
Yeah. And I think that Dylan Gabriel, year 1 here at Oklahoma, I think that's about where he was, right? Wasn't it mid-20s? Last year was obviously a better year. He had much bigger numbers last year, but I think his first year, mid-20s,
He was
single digits.
25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in 2022, and he also had 6 rushing touchdowns. So yeah,
There you go.
you're talking low 30s when it comes to total touchdowns and, like you mentioned, single digit interceptions.
Mhm.
That's what it's got to look like for from Jackson Arnold for OU to have the season they want to have.
Yep. It'd be great if all those interceptions were thrown like early
Punts.
in the season or punts or yeah, that's we don't want like there's games where an interception you're like, okay, a pick here is not going to kill you. There's some of those where we'd like to hang some zeros in the interception column.
That would be nice. All right, let's move on to our next question. This one comes from at Lone Guy 78. He asks Teddy, who are your starters on the D line for the season opener? Gabe, same question for the offensive line.
Yeah. Well, I think defensive line right now, I would say it's probably going to be Dominic Williams, and then between Jaden Jackson and Dejon Terry, I would probably say I slightly lean Jaden Jackson. Um, but it wouldn't shock me if Terry was there. Um, but so I'll say Dominic Williams and Jaden Jackson right now is the starting interior guys, and on the edge, I think it's going to be Downs and R. Mason Thomas. Now, there's a really good rotation, both of the interior guys. Dejon Terry's going to get a lot of reps. I think Grayson Holton's going to get a lot of reps. And then on the edge, I mean, it's the same thing. Downs and R. Mason Thomas, I feel pretty comfortable saying that I think they're going to be the starters, but I think Caden Woolard is going to be right there in the mix. And, PJ is going to be in there also. Like they've got a really good rotation on the edge spots right now. So, but yeah, I'd pick Downs and R. Mason Thomas.
Downs and R. Mason Thomas are going to run out there first. PJ, Woolard, probably some Trace Ford on the
Yep.
edge. And then
They
I think
really like Trace Ford when they do some of their kind of hybrid 3-man stuff where he stands up on the edge and then he'll also bump out over displaced receivers. They like Trace Ford in that spot quite a bit.
interior wise, I view Dominic Williams, Jaden Jackson, and Dejon Terry all as starters. And
Yes.
I think Halton, David Stone, Devon Sears, they're all going to be rotational guys.
Yep.
And Halton,
I think
especially in more, when
passing
the
downs.
yeah, when it's an obvious passing situation, you want Halton on the field.
He's not going to hold point on some of the interior runs, the double teams and stuff like those other three guys. But whenever he can pin his ears back and get off the football with some aggressiveness, dude, he makes a ton of plays. I'm excited for him.
Offensive line, I don't even know how to predict this for the opener. It I think this is the best way to do it. If everyone's healthy, if everyone's ready to go against Temple, I think it's Tarquin, Sexton, Hickman, Wee Woo, Jake Taylor. The problem is I have no idea how many of those guys are going to be ready for the opener, how those guys are feeling. We'll see what Brent Venables says when he talks to the media next when it comes to a health update for those guys. But yeah, I will say I was very skeptical when Michael Tarquin transferred here. He's been really consistent in camp, man. I mean, he's been really, really consistent. I did not think he was a very good player coming from USC. And to his credit, worked extremely hard in the spring. From everything I've been told, worked extremely hard in the summer, has added weight, has added strength. I like the way he plays, right?
Yep.
This is the biggest compliment you can get. I never see Bill yelling at him. That's
Yep.
usually a good sign. That usually means he's doing what he's supposed to do. So I feel better about him as a player than I did in the spring. A lot better. Like I think he can hold up in the SEC because he knows what he's doing. He's gotten stronger. He plays with good technique and he plays with a little bit of an edge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we hope that we'd have a good, healthy training camp to where they could move some guys around and find out what their best, little set of guys at whatever spots. But I haven't been lucky enough on the injury part of it. So you've had to play some extra musical chairs in some spots and try some different guys out, but I think they're going to end up being just fine.
Sexton is kind of the key because he can play left guard, he can play left tackle. Remember, we've seen him kick out and play right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's an extremely versatile piece. So depending on who's ready to go for the opener, guessing where that man is going to light up when they run out there for the first drive against Temple, it's impossible. But I think Tarquin left tackle, Sexton at left guard is what they would want if everyone's available. But Garen Hatchett, I don't know where he fits in. Like, could he be the center in the opener? Maybe. We're just gonna have to wait and see what all those guys' status are for that football game.
Yep. And I like I said, wish we would have had a perfectly healthy camp on the offensive line. We haven't, and we've got some time. Not to downplay what any of the non-conference games are because that could end up being really tough. Houston could show up. I don't know a whole lot about those teams yet, but we don't have to be in a position to win the national championship in week one. We're going to have a little bit of time to figure some things out, and this team's going to look drastically different from week 1 to week 10. So just prepare yourself for that.
Spencer Brown's gotten better as well.
Mm-hmm.
He did not have a good spring, but he's starting to put some things together there at the right tackle spot. I think he's, in my mind, he's kind of a depth piece at the tackle position for him. But once again, we'll see what it looks like when they run out there against Temple. On to the next question. Comes from Trevor Sumter. He says, I've not heard Dasan McCullough talked about at all over spring or fall. I think I heard he was banged up. Will he still have a role on the defense?
Yes. Yeah, he has been banged up, but I think they expect him back pretty quick, either for the opener or, sometime near the beginning of the season. And yeah, he's going to have a role. I think they're going to start maybe trying him at some inside stuff to add some depth there. But I do think that he's also going to be that cheetah piece that comes in whenever they're in some bigger personnel, goal line, short yardage, stuff like that.
I have to imagine that you look at his size and length and what he did best when he was at Indiana. Like, the thing he did best was rush the passer.
Mm-hmm.
So Venables tends to get real creative with guys that have the ability to rush the passer.
Yep.
And creating favorable matchups. So that's something we kind of expected from him a year ago, but got hurt.
Yep.
And it feels like he's just been hurt ever since. I mean, it's been a battle for McCullough, but he's filled out. Like, he looks much thicker this year than he did a year ago, Ted. So I just want the guy to get healthy. I just want to see him out on the field. Very
Yep.
interested in how they would use him, but you got to be available for Zach Alley and Brent Venables to get creative with you.
He's one of those guys that just looks good getting off the bus too. So having him standing over there about 6'6" looks pretty good. So yeah, no, I'm with you. I do think that he's going to have a role this year, though. Yes.
Next question comes from Jesus Crust. What true freshman do you think will get the most snaps this season, offense and defense? Let's start on defense, Ted. What true freshman do you think will get the most snaps on defense?
Well, you have to start Jaden Jackson because we think he may be a starter. So
That would be my answer.
that's the easiest answer there. But dude, on the back end, Boganowski is he is so good. Um, Hardy has played really well. Reggie Powers, all of those guys. Um, I talked with some of the coaches yesterday. I think Eli Bowen at corner has looked really, really good. They're deep at corner, man. They're deep. They're deep at safety. I mean, Boganowski is. I, it would be. I would be shocked if he doesn't end up being like a super high level safety, like very, very, very high. He's incredible,
Like
and he's
first
like
round.
he's already like. I mean, that type of talent. Now, safety's very difficult to go in the first round, but I mean, he's already got elite size. He is. He might be one of the better strikers that we've had at safety, and that's saying something. Like it's not like we've been soft at the position. The dude can absolutely bring it. He's
At
smart. He's fast.
at a practice I was at during team, a run broke through and Boganowski erased this human being.
Yeah.
Into the protocol they went. It
Yeah.
was it was one of those. I'm standing in it. It was oh damn, like it was. And then I reminded myself, that's it. That's true freshman. Okay,
He did it
he
yesterday too.
looks huge back there at
Yes.
safety.
He's so good, dude. He's gonna be. I mean,
I
he already is really good,
so
but
I
it's
it's got to be Jaden Jackson. That being said, like interior defensive linemen rotate a lot.
yeah, that's true.
So if someone goes down and Eli Bowen starts a couple of games at corner, which I think is
Yes,
a very realistic situation,
yes,
it could be Eli Bowen. And especially you got to factor in, and I don't want to, go too deep into snap count, but you got to factor in special teams and all these young guys in the secondary. Eli Bowen, Boganowski, Jeremiah Newcomb's a name that we keep hearing. Jaden Hardy, Reggie Powers, Devon Jordan, like all those guys are going to play on special teams, I assume.
I hope so. With some of the guys that are not starting on defense, you can say offensively too. Not you don't even have to say not starting, but kind of the guys that are in the special team, tight end, running back, backer, safety, the guys that make up the bulk of your hardcore units. Like those are some of our deeper positions athletically. Like safety's got a ton of those guys. Backers, there's no reason we shouldn't be elite in our coverage units and in our blocking units. We should be fantastic.
Offense is a tougher conversation because you look at the true freshmen on offense. I don't think any of them are going to be starters. I I lean towards a guy like Taylor Tatum. Now, their nightmare scenario: Jackson Arnold gets hurt, Mike Hawkins steps in and is your quarterback. Then yes, he would clearly end up with the most snaps of a true freshman on offense. But fingers crossed that does not happen. That would not be great. But I think that running back position, whether it's Taylor Tatum or maybe a guy like Xavier Robinson,
Yeah.
I think one of those guys is probably the most likely candidate to rack up the most snaps on offense for a true freshman.
Yeah, I think so. Um,
Maybe Josh Isosa with the current state of the line.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably, I mean, Taylor Tatum, for whatever reason, whenever I've been out to practice, it has not linked up good with Taylor Tatum. Like he, on those days, whether he's been banged up or whatever, he hasn't gotten much run. But um, the coaches have really come around on him a lot lately, and I guess he's it's tough. He's coming in way behind everyone else. just showing up in June, which is, it's weird to think anymore, but he's getting here late, so it's taking him a little bit to ramp up. But it sounds like he's come on really strong lately. So I think that the running back position, although you're starting to kind of solidify what's going on there, it's nothing is written in stone at this point. And you know, we've all seen before where you feel like you've got a starter at running back, and then all of a sudden, the third string guy comes in late in the game and is electric. And then he comes in the next game a little bit early. And if he's electric again, you start chipping away at some of those starter carries and reps. So, yeah, he would probably be like defensively, Jaden Jackson's the easy pick, and some of those other guys that we talked about. Offensively, the easy pick is Taylor Tatum. But I expect Mike Hawkins to play quite a bit. Like, not as like there's a competition going on necessarily, but I think that your backup quarterback is always something that you're thinking about, and they're going to while Thompson gives you a really solid guy coming in, I think they would prefer to have Hawkins as the backup. I mean, that's just the natural progression for him, and you need to get him up to speed. You don't want it to be, all of a sudden the second half of a super important football game and you're down, and then all of a sudden you got to put your backup quarterback out there and he hasn't had any reps. So I think they're going to give him quite a bit of playing time. That would be a guess.
I think maybe Ivan Carrion could get he could be a red zone guy. Maybe now that Gibson's out for the season.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at him out there, the guy's just huge.
Mm-hmm.
Just a large receiver. But yeah, other than that, we'll see what happens with Mitchell at the tight end position. That's a tough position to play as a freshman. I mean, you got to run routes. You got to know the entire playbook. You got to run routes. You got to be able to block in the run game. It's a lot to ask a true freshman tight end to go out there and mix it up in the SEC.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when there's a certified badass as the starter at that spot right now, and he can do it all and wants to do it all. So he's going to play a ton of reps. But on a well, maybe we'll hit that at some other point in here.
There is one other freshman that I just want to point out. If I could buy stock, and you got to remember like where the price is at currently here in this stock, keep that in mind when I make this statement. I think if I could purchase stock in any true freshman on offense right now, it would be Andy Bass. That guy, I was out of practice and this little white blur just goes, I see it out of the corner of my eye. Like, who the hell is running so fast? And it was a guy that blew his knee out, in December? He is jacked, dude. And he can fly.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he is, he has been able to catch on to the offensive system very, very quickly. He can run. He can catch. He played quarterback at Heritage Hall in Oklahoma City. I was at the state championship game when he blew his knee out. The guy did it all for that team. I don't know, man. I'm not betting against that guy. I just think that when I see him, I'm just like, that guy's a football player. Like he's not the biggest dude in the world, but he is yoked and he can fly. Once he's back healthy, man, I think he's going to be a really good player here.
The interesting thing too, because I've watched him over there where the injured guys are running sprints and doing their drills and stuff. Like, he seems to be like, I don't know, I'm not necessarily saying like a big personality, but he looks like a guy that everyone really likes to be around.
He carries himself with his chest out, that's for sure. I mean, he is. He does, but
not with those pythons that he's carrying around, right?
I'm really interested to see what his career ends up being like.
Yeah.
At Oklahoma, I think the guy's just a football player. I don't know. I can't wait to see him back
Running
healthy.
back, like where do you put
Running
him?
back, H back. I think he's got really good hands, can catch the ball.
Slot receiver.
I
Yeah,
think he's kind of just like a little utility piece for you.
yeah.
I, I can't wait to see what they do with him down the
I
line. I
agree.
have no idea if he's going to factor in this season with, coming off that knee injury. I got no idea, but
So
if
what
I
was that
could buy
early? That would be
stock,
early December then when that happened,
yeah,
mid-December. So I mean, the timeline is he's getting close to where you typically see guys start to, and he sure looks good running over on the side.
dude could fly. I asked some of the straight guys. They said he's already back to running a 4.4. Like he can
Wow.
fly. So it'll be interesting, man. Okay, this is the last question we got. Danny and Billy are not an option. Who do you believe has the best chance to play themselves into contention for a national award for their respective position? This is a great question. What do you think, Ted?
I've got to think about it off like because it's not easy for a national award. There's almost like you got to position yourself in a year and then be kind of a front runner when it starts. But guys come out of nowhere and win stuff. So that, I mean, maybe that's not
I
true.
I think the
I,
easy answer for me is Deion Burks winning a Blitnikoff. Now,
we've only had one Bolitnikoff winner.
I know
That
D.D.
is a
Westbrook.
very difficult award to
It
win.
is very, very difficult, but I'm just talking about a guy that can get himself into the conversation. When you look at, I think he's the most explosive playmaker we got.
Mm-hmm.
And OU's going to have a ton of marquee games. I mean, the schedule is a beast. We've talked so much about it, but if you make plays in those types of games, that's when people consider you for national awards. And if
Okay,
Deion
it's
Burks
true.
is lighting up Tennessee and lighting up Alabama,
There's a ton of
he's going to
truth to
be
that.
in the conversation.
Now, the other one that I've got here is because I think it's wide open as far as I know, and I think the bar is you don't have to like for Deion Burks to win the Bolitnikoff, like he may have to have like 1,500 yards receiving, like something crazy. I don't know, but is it the Mackey's the tight end, right?
Correct.
I I would say Bauer Sharp and the Mackey Award. You go catch 10 touchdowns as a tight end. I mean, that's a lot, but it's kind of the same thing. If you catch some touchdowns in some big games, Bauer Sharp's kind of that dude. Like I think he could be fun for people to cover and I don't know. I would probably go Bauer Sharp at tight end.
We love Bauer Sharp.
Yeah. Love
He
watching
may
him
be my favorite
practice.
player on the entire football team.
Yeah,
I
I
just
agree.
love the way that the guy practices.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer in, hey, if you go out there and you practice with physicality and you practice at a million miles an hour, that it translates to playing that way in a game. That
Like
just
when you go like I remember walking into like I would walk into the locker room after a practice and I'd see guys that it looks like, did you even practice? Were you out there? What were you doing? Like he looks like he has been at practice. Like he's covered in dirt. He's covered in sweat. His, equipment's falling apart. He's going to be the guy that comes out of a football game that is just like, looks like he's been put through the ringer. That's one of the reasons I like watching him.
dark horse national award winner candidate. Luke Elzinga, Ray Guy Award. How about that?
Yeah.
He was really good last year once he took over.
Yeah. No, I would love that. A Ray Guy award winner to go with a really good defense. Yes, sir. Sign me up for that.
Come on, Elzinga. Make it happen, man. Big punter, too. It's a big punter.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the college football roundup. Got some fun storylines to talk about. But first, fuel your journey at Love's Travel Stops and save 10 cents per gallon on gas and auto diesel. Download the Love's Connect app today It takes just seconds to unlock savings when you scan your barcode in the app at the pump. This discount and other mobile deals on drinks and snacks are available at more than 640 Love's locations across the country. Before your next trip, download the Love's Connect app, your guide to savings on the road.
A lot of things are changing for OU football heading into the SEC, but one thing is remaining the same, the football. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown to order the official game ball of the Oklahoma Sooners, the Nike Vapor Elite, exclusively from Big Game Football Factory, is the only authentic football that OU will use on game day. It's got the OU and SEC logos on it. It's the perfect gift for any Sooner fan. Each ball comes with a certificate of authenticity to certify that the football received was commissioned and created to the specifications requested by the Sooners. Go to biggameusa.com/breakdown and order yours today. They're sweet.
They are sweet. And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned drinkware company and #1 drinkware sales leader on Amazon and Target. And this year, Simple Modern is now the official drinkware sponsor of University of Oklahoma Athletics. Keep on the lookout. You're sure to spot exclusive drinkware options at all home games so you can stay hydrated while supporting your favorite Oklahoma team. And with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you'll also know you're helping Oklahomans off the field as well. Simple Modern, good everywhere. College Football Roundup. Ted, if I would have told you Will Howard was going to be a starter at Ohio State 3 years ago, what would your reaction been?
That Ryan Day is self-sabotaging his program in order to get fired and get the golden parachute.
I think my reaction would have been awesome. He must have turned out to be a great tight end.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That was our thing, man. Remember, hey, you should just move to tight end. Guy's not a quarterback. And to his credit, has worked extremely hard and has gotten better and has gotten better and has gotten better. And now he's the starting quarterback at Ohio State with Chip Kelly as his offensive coordinator. That combination will be interesting. Very interested to see how much QB run game will be in that offense with Chip Kelly calling the plays. Sounds like Howard has really leaned up and is running really, really well. And Ted, the skill positions around him, they are loaded for the Buckeyes. I mean, loaded.
Yes, they are. The entire football team is loaded. It's still shocking. And I agree. Will Howard, his improvement, when he was a backup quarterback, he was so bad whenever he first was going in the game. It was horrible. Like he was probably through like 8 interceptions of his first 20 passes. It was that bad. But he's gotten better. He looked really good at points 2 years ago and then last year. But it's still weird that he's starting at Ohio State. He's a different style of quarterback. It just kind of feels than what they've had recently. I wonder how it kind of got to this spot for Ohio State. It's like they had a constant, they were so deep at quarterback. It was one year after another. They had an elite talent there.
This is a perfect example of, and not, I get on Dabo a lot. I understand that. But this is a perfect example of using the portal when it turns out, hey, you missed on a guy. And I think it was clear Ohio State felt that they missed on Kyle McCord. That, he got out there, started playing, and that staff went, he's not good enough. He's not good enough to get us where we want to go. And that's why he's going to be the starter at Syracuse. So they went and got Will Howard. Cade Klubnik for Clemson has been average at best.
Mm-hmm.
And below average for what the bar is that, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence set for that program. But Dabo doesn't go and get a portal quarterback. So Ryan Day, I actually give him credit. It's like, hey, Kyle McCord, he was with the guy every single day. And he said, hey, he's not good enough to get us where we want to go. And it they targeted Will Howard and ultimately won the bid for his services. So I'm expecting him to have a really big year because he's got Emeka Ibuka and Jeremiah Smith, who's supposed to be just incredible as a
Okay.
freshman.
Let me ask. I think this is really the only way I can kind of ask the question. They are loaded offensively with talent. If if you didn't know who the quarterback was and you looked at all the other pieces that Ohio State has, their schedule, all of that, and you built some thoughts as to what you think they're going to be, and then you learned that Will Howard was the starter, does it make you feel better about where they're going to go or not as good?
I think I'm kind of indifferent because
I think that's where I am too.
he's a veteran guy. And gosh, that Oklahoma State game last year, wow. I mean, he was awful. But he's been a pretty good player. I mean, he won a Big 12 championship for K State. Do I think he's going to be CJ Stroud? No. But I also think we've never seen him with these kind of weapons around him. I mean, Henderson and Judkins at the running back position. I
I don't, and Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator is going to be fascinating to see like what do you get? What version of Chip Kelly's offenses that he's had over the years are you going to get? I don't know how Will Howard fits into that.
I do think, first of all, I'm rooting for Will Howard. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him on SiriusXM quite a few times, and just a very likable guy. I'm rooting for him. I hope he goes out and balls out for Ohio State. But we've never seen him have these kinds of weapons around him. But we've never seen him have to play in an environment with like these types of expectations. Ohio State and Kansas State are not created equal. They're just not.
Mm-hmm.
And especially over the last several years, no one has expected Kansas State to win a national title. No one.
Right.
And that is, from what I understand, it is like national title or bust with this roster for Ohio State. Like if they don't win the national title, they fall short of expectations. So Will Howard's going to be under a microscope like he's never been under before. It's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, he's going to have all these weapons, but there's a lot of pressure and stress. Like a lot comes with being the starting quarterback at Ohio State when the entire fan base is expecting you to beat Michigan and to go win a national title.
Yeah. And I'm just going to bring up their schedule because I mean, I think don't they have a tough non-conference game early? If I remember right. I don't know. Everyone's schedule's more difficult. They're actually pretty good early on. They do go to Oregon in October. They play number 25 Iowa at home on the 5th of October. Then they go to Oregon October 12th. That's going to be an insane game. 2 weeks later, they go to number 8 Penn State, which I'm very interested to see what Penn State's offense looks like. I'm uh, I'm I'm hoping we get some good stuff from them.
The You mentioned that Oregon game. It's pretty strange. Two teams in Oregon and Ohio State that a lot of people expect to win the Big Ten. I think a lot of people are going to pick one of those two teams to win the national title, along with Georgia. The majority of people are going to pick Georgia, but I think a lot of people will pick Ohio State and some people will pick Oregon. They're preseason number 2 and number 3. And they've got these veteran quarterbacks that were essentially forced out by younger guys, where the staff went, hey, in Manhattan, they went, Avery Johnson, it's your team now. And
And
in
it
Norman,
kind of started happening towards the end of that season, didn't it? A little
yeah.
bit. They started giving him some more snaps.
And Dylan Gabriel, I mean, we know what happened here in Norman. So it's just very interesting. Two of the teams, I mean, two of the top three preseason teams have these veteran quarterbacks that their last staff basically said, "Hey man, yeah, move on. We're rolling with the young guy." It's just strange.
And this is a new question. And I mean, it's always been there, but now with the 12-team playoff, it's going to be more difficult than it's ever been if you don't have like a championship caliber quarterback. Because you're going to like your final 4 or 5 games of the year are going to be against the best of the best. And you're going to have some incredible quarterback play. Like, you're not just going to be able to line up and out athlete everyone. Like, you're going to have some really good, sharp quarterback play to go win the whole thing.
Or just be able to run the rock over everyone like Michigan did last season. But
Yep.
even then, McCarthy had to make some plays
Yep.
in the college football playoffs. So I don't know. It is Will Howard's the starting quarterback at Ohio State. Good for him. I really do. I hope he plays well.
Yeah.
Do you see the Gundy quote from his media
Yes,
availability?
I did.
For those of you that missed it, here it is. There's no negotiating now. The portal's over. All negotiations, history. Now we're playing football. Tell your agent to quit calling us and asking for more money. It's non-negotiable now. It'll start again in December. Now we're able to direct ourselves just at football, and that part is fun because there's been so much other stuff going on. It's been hard to really focus on football. What'd you think of what he said? It became a big deal, like a bunch of Mike Gundy quotes do.
It's like everything he says is like uh, very polarizing. I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it at all. Um, I go out there and earn it. I mean, I don't know what the negotiate. I'm no expert at NIL negotiations and how it works and how involved the football team is or the how it, I don't know. But I understand Gundy saying like we're past that. It's football time. You go out there, you have a great season. Well, the NIL stuff, the negotiations will start back up, and you'll get what you earn, I guess, to some degree. You want to sit there and continue to negotiate, especially for guys that have done nothing. Like, I can understand how frustrating that is for a coaching staff.
Gundy's job security allows him to speak with a refreshing level of honesty.
Yeah.
And now he says some goofy stuff every once in a while, but he speaks about college football as if it's a business now. He speaks with a certain candor about the sport now that guys are getting paid. And I think what some people, I don't want to say people misunderstood it, but maybe just interpreted it differently than I did. I think all Gundy is saying, it's like, hey, your base pay for the year, you're locked in, bud. The whatever that number is, your base pay, you're locked in. We'll renegotiate. Go out there, ball out. We'll renegotiate once the season's over. He is not saying that, hey, if you go out and have a massive game, that you can't go do an autograph signing or make an appearance somewhere. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying about that base pay number. Like, hey, we are what your monthly payment that you're getting for this season, it's locked in. And I actually think it's smart for him to get it out publicly for everyone to see. His players, their parents, their reps. Everyone knows what's what.
Yep.
The deal's the deal. You're playing on the contract you were on. If you want a bigger deal, play well and you'll get a bigger deal next year after we negotiate. And it just seems like a very professional approach from Mike Gundy. And I think this this new version of college football it just still makes some people uncomfortable. I'm not one of those people. I thought what Gundy said was smart and made all the sense of the world.
Yeah, because like whenever he goes out there and he says that, he he's put everybody on notice. And then you kind of have to take that and say, okay, well, we're either going to keep calling and keep asking for more money, or we're going to wait till the end of the season. And if you keep calling and asking for money, be prepared for the next press conference for Mike Gundy to throw it out there as to who's asking for more money and I, whatever other ways he has to maybe keep you from play. I don't know what they could do, but yeah, it's a shot across the bow, I think.
All I ever wanted as a player, whether that was in college or the NFL, was transparency. Like I just wanted to know where I stood. And I just wanted to know like what was what. Just be honest with me. So I think those guys in that locker room at Stillwater, your head football coach, who yes, there's no doubt he has flirted with other jobs to get raises in the past. We all know that. But that's his contract. That's his salary. It is what it is.
And the results are there too.
Correct. And I just think that from a transparency perspective, I appreciate Mike Gundy coming out as the head football coach and saying, hey, we're not doing this during the season. Don't call me. I'm not talking about it. Let's focus on football. Because then everyone in the locker room knows what's what. And I think that's the best way to go about it. If you're the head coach, just I'm going to tell the world so that every single one of my players knows.
Yeah. Tell your agent to quit calling the NIL people and start calling, get you some opportunities out there. There's all kinds of places that want to pay to have the top players at Oklahoma State come to their restaurant, come to their dealership, come to whatever thing that they have. There's a ton of those opportunities. Start doing those. You make more money. You make plenty.
I feel the same. One last thing. The college football playoff they announced they will not use conference titles as tiebreakers for the seeding of the 12-team college football playoff that will debut this year. Just a reminder, 12-team playoff this year. Top 4 seeds will be the highest ranked 4 conference champions. They'll get a first round bye. It's logical, Ted, to assume that will be the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12. The 5th highest ranked conference champ will get in. So basically, the highest ranked group of 5 champ is going to get in. But essentially, just this says, hey, group of 5 champ, your conference title really doesn't mean anything when we're comparing you to all the other teams that we're going to put in and we're going to rank them ahead of you. To me, it kind of read like, hey, group of 5 champ, you're most likely going to be the 12th seed. That's kind of just how I interpreted them announcing this.
And that's how it should be. I mean, I mean, to make you should be ranked with how good you are, I think, or seeded with how good you are, because not only is it not fair for you, like to be seated higher than what you are, it's also not fair to everyone else. Like if you are the 5 seed, you should not be playing someone that is way better than the 5th title winner. That, you know what I'm saying? Like that's who you're supposed to be playing. So I'm glad they're doing it that way.
I do think it is odd that they're saying, hey, your conference title really doesn't matter when we're comparing teams for seeding, when we all know the only reason that they're going to be in the college football playoff is because of the conference title they won. It's a little strange.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it doesn't matter. It's the only reason you're in, but it doesn't matter. Just, it feels a little strange.
How many horrible performances by the non-power 5, by the group of 5 schools that get in before they say, okay, it was fun for doing it. We're not doing it anymore.
I've heard some group of five coaches talk about this. Really, this system, they get 2 years, right? Whoever that group of five champ is, they need to be competitive. I'm not saying they got to win a game, but if they just get blown off the field, think about what happened to Liberty last year.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, they're gonna get that automatic bid is gonna go bye-bye. Because they're gonna be able to point to these games and go, well, we can't have that. Like no one's gonna pay. We're not gonna get the amount of money the next TV deal with that being one of the games. These next two seasons, these next two playoffs, it is absolutely crucial that whatever group of five team gets in shows up and is competitive in the football game.
Yeah. Do you
now,
think
maybe there's an
should be
antitrust thing that keeps the automatic bid in there. I don't know enough about the legalese of all that, but yeah, a lot of people are starting to talk about, hey, why didn't the group of five just make their own playoff? Which I would love.
I would love it too, but as the instant they do it, and the reason they haven't done it before is money, because as soon as they do that, they already are, but it's more pronounced that they're second tier. You're admitting that you're not Division I football or whatever the top division is, and as soon as you do that, you kind of lose all the access to the players and the programming and all of that stuff. So I think that's why they fight so hard against going that direction. Whenever it clearly makes the most sense. Like of the 130 schools, I mean, you've got 25 on a given year that are capable of, perhaps making the playoff and winning a playoff game. The other 105 schools, like, not capable of competing. So it's weird how it's set up.
One other thing the college football playoff announced was the members of the committee that will have to recuse themselves when certain teams are discussed. Reminder. I think this is one of the dumbest things ever. These people on this committee are all highly respected and accomplished professionals. And they make them leave the room when their team is discussed.
The team that they've watched the most.
It is dumb. It's stupid. I don't understand. You can't vote for your team either. Well, why not? You can vote for, if you're running for president of the United States, you can vote for yourself. You go to the polling place and you can vote for yourself if you're running for president. But if you're a member of the college football playoff committee, if you're the AD of wherever, you can't vote for your school, even though they may be the best team in the country.
How many people are on the committee?
Was it like 12? I don't know.
So 12. And like, you don't want anyone from your school representing you on the committee. Like, it's an automatic non-vote. You know what I'm saying? If you happen to be in that position. It's dumb.
I think it's 13 this year. Yeah, 13.
And the deciding vote may be standing outside the room.
This announcement just reminded me that I think the committee should be, first of all, I think there should be more actual football people on it that know what they're looking at. And not a bunch of people that are incredibly busy running athletic departments at massive universities. I think it makes no sense to me. But I would love to see a college football playoff committee where being on that committee is their main job. Like, that's what they do, or at least during that time of the year, that's what they do. You are watching games, you're talking to coaches, you're talking to NFL scouts, you're talking to people. Like, You are gathering information and watching football. That's what I want the college football playoff committee to be. And I want everyone to be able to stay in the room when every team is discussed because we're grown-ups. And you don't have to make people leave when you talk about them.
Well, I agree with everything you're saying, except for I don't think there should be a committee at all.
Ooh,
I don't think that. I
quite the
think there should.
zag.
Oh well, I think there should be the BCS formula, whatever it is. Fine, no bias. Everyone knows what the formula is. Open source it, whatever. Not able to be manipulated. Here's the criteria. Spits out the best teams. On we go. Easy as can be. Don't have to worry about it. These backroom deals. I would say either that or let the fans vote, but that's a dangerous road to go down. But I don't think there should be a committee at all.
You clearly are not a television executive. And now the computer will spit out the numbers. Here we go. Number 12.
Yeah, you got to have the drama. Got to have the drama.
Got to have a little. Yeah. Reese Davis, the tiles have to flip over, Ted. Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Got to turn everything into a TV show. But I would, the college football playoff committee would look a lot differently if I was the czar of college football.
Yeah.
I would let
Probably
all of
like,
these extremely busy people do their very time consuming job that they already have. As opposed
I would turn into a reality show where there needs to be way more people than just 12. They need to be full-time jobs for those people. And you divide it evenly between ex-football coaches and analytical nerds and just let them just.
That would be chaotic. I love it. Sign me up. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first,
oh, you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch, tradition, plays better and tastes better.
And 3 things matter in banking: service, service, and service. First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand-smashed patties, butter-toasted buns, and ice-cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late-night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
As always, Ted, kicks off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
A special edition winner and loser. ESPN ranked the top 100 college football players as we head into the season. And Oklahoma had 3 players picked. Number 74 and 75, Billy Bowman and Deion Burks were both selected. And then Stutzman was at number 32. 3 representatives on the list. Pretty good. And Burks was 74, Bowman 73, Stutzman 32. And for Stutzman to be in the top, 1/3 of that list, your top 32 players in all of college football, that puts him in a really good spot heading into the season for all the accolades and the attention and all of that stuff that he's going to get.
Have you been surprised at all that Stutzman has been on all these lists that we feel he deserved to be on? But I think there was a little doubt with OU making the move to the SEC? Do enough people know who he is? Does he have a big enough brand? Does his name get lost now that it's in this, kind of the massive discussion that is the SEC? But it seems like he's made every preseason list you can make.
I know. It's crazy to think
It's
that
awesome.
Bowman wasn't first team all like preseason all SEC, was he?
Yes, he was.
He was. Like, just think of how crazy it was. Like when it was at first announced that we were going to the SEC, if we would be like someone said that you're going to be going for the 2024 season and you'll have two preseason all SEC players on your defense before the year even starts. Like, I mean, we were we've positioned ourselves to feel like we would be lapped at defensively going into the SEC, and we're going to have one of the best defenses in the conference this year. So, yeah, I mean, it is kind of surprising, but he's earned that respect, and the film stands out. I mean, that does all the talking.
Anybody else that you saw on the list that where you're like, oh, great for that guy, or
Well, I mean,
I've got one that if there are 77 football players that are better than Zachariah Branch from USC, that guy's electric. If there's 77 players better than that guy, then okay, sure.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it is interesting whenever you kind of look like I was going to say, like looking at the list, loser is the fact that we got to play the number one player on the entire list, James Pierce Jr., the defensive end edge guy out of Tennessee. Whenever I scrolled to the bottom of the list where it had number one, I was shocked to find him there. But I mean, there's no doubt he's a good player.
A lot of people are projecting him to make a leap this year. He's got a great get off. I've watched a lot of their tape at this point. That defensive line from Tennessee, they're going to be very good. He's got a great get off, but I don't think he stacks up with some of the top edge guys over these last couple drafts. Uh, we'll see. He's a little thinner than some of those guys have been. He looks a little lighter to me.
He's great running around the edge. I I think he leaves quite a bit to be desired against the run. So, I mean, that's a premium position, and to be like the elite of the elite, you got to be able to do both. And I think he, at least from what I've seen, a limited amount from last year, I think he lacks a little bit there, but it doesn't mean he can't get way better.
I don't. I mean, I don't think he was better than Dallas Turner was from Bama, who went in the middle of the first round. Latu, the guy from UCLA, who you and I both really like. I don't think he's at the same level those guys. And I think those are the first two ed guys off the board in the last draft.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier. I can't remember where he's listed on here. I thought he was like in the teens, but I really like Scourton that transferred to Texas A&M edge guy. He is an absolute animal. So there's some good
Scourton
players out there.
is checking in at 29.
29. He's way better than that in my opinion. But it's really hard. There's not a whole lot of separation in order to get this list out. It's difficult, but say what you want about Alabama. The list is still absolutely loaded with Alabama football players. But, some of them are on other rosters that are on this list, and very highly ranked. So that is something as well.
Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
Well, that was it. Just that we had to play the number one player on the list for all those that are going to be scanning it, because I know there's some in the fan base right now. I don't know where the panic started. Someone told me that it was me, and I don't know how that happened, but there's some panic out there about our offense and offensive line. And if it makes you feel better, first SEC game of the year, we'll be playing the number one player in the country at the edge spot.
So that's James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. He had 9.5 sacks last year. We will also be playing number 5, Luther Burden, wide receiver in Missouri. We'll be playing the number 6 player as well. That's Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU. We will be playing
the number 7 guy when we play Georgia in the SEC championship, right?
Love where your head's at. Love that, Ted. Love the confidence. Yes, possibly playing the number 7 guy in an SEC championship game at Carson Beck, the quarterback from Georgia.
Hey, Ollie Gordon's 8. What do you think about Ollie Gordon heading into the season? Like, is he going to be able to replicate?
I would assume that teams are going to just commit more to the box and say, hey, Alan Bowman beat us.
Yeah.
He had
Is that why Alan Bowman's wanting more
1,700
money in his NIL deal right now?
Don't put that on Bowman. Come on, man. I do think Ollie Gordon, he was, I mean, how many times last year when we were watching tape getting ready for Bedlam, how many times was that guy making something out of nothing? I mean, he was spectacular for them a year ago.
He was great. And I think they've got, do they have like 10 or 11? Do they have all 11 starters back on offense?
I think so. Their team, it feels like half their team's about to collect Social Security. Like they are an old football team.
Good.
Like very old.
Old, experienced. I was talking to Kel, he's been up there to watch their practices, and he says Ollie Gordon looks fantastic. So
he is 1,732 yards rushing last year.
It's crazy. And hardly played at all in like the first 3 games.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that guy was phenomenal for them. I like the list. Yeah, if you haven't seen the list, go check it out. It's a fun read.
Yeah.
Did you see who was at 13? McMillan, that wide receiver from Arizona that you and I loved.
Oh, yeah.
He may be the best wide receiver in college football. That guy is an absolute stud.
Crazy good. I don't know how what that staff is. They're going to be as good as the previous staff was. I thought they executed perfectly with their talent last year, that coaching staff. But I was surprised. I think the Fafita was like in the 60s, wasn't he?
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel's at 16, which.
Well, he got a lot better as soon as he left Oklahoma.
A lot better. I mean, Dylan Gabriel's ranked ahead of Quinn Ewers and Shadur Sanders. And Jalen Milroe.
Good player.
Interesting. I'm rooting for DG.
I am too.
I'm rooting for him, but is he a better football player than Shadur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, and Jalen Milroe? I don't know. He's played more football. If that's what the list is.
I think Dylan Gabriel, he's limited talent-wise compared to all of those other players. But I think he squeezes everything he can out of what he's got. And that says quite a bit. I like when players are like that.
I'm with you. But I don't think Dylan Gabriel is a better football player than Danny Stutzman.
No.
So making these lists, it's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really hard.
There's like a natural edge that goes to the quarterback.
Right.
It's just kind of.
But Dylan Gabriel is at 16 and Jalen Daniels is at 40. That seems off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hate on DG. Like, I think he's a really good college football player, but it just seems a little high.
Did you see Will Howard? Was he on there?
No, I didn't see him on the list. Our guy Cam Rising's at 53. We love that guy.
Jackson Dart, 41. You mentioned Jalen Daniels at 40. I'm it's interesting because there's a whole lot of Ohio State first round
Oh
or
my gosh.
offensive players on here, but I didn't see Will Howard.
You know who's at 91? Miller
Who?
Moss from USC.
Hey,
He played one game. He looked fantastic, but the guy has played one
I
game.
know, I know.
I
Well, there's
mean,
some guys on there that the like the Wegman kid from A&M,
Wigman,
Wigman, he's ranked really high on there too.
before he got hurt last year, I like that kid.
Yeah,
Big, strong. He can rip it.
dude, I'm not totally convinced that LSU doesn't go out there and get 50 hung on them by USC and lose 50-49. I mean, they're going to put up a bunch of points, but I think he runs Lincoln's offense the way Lincoln wants it to be run instead of, does that make sense? Like from the pocket, throwing the football on time. And we'll see, though.
We'll see. All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
Insurica launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
and head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
And celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU Athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit schoonerale.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
My winner of the weekend, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Schedule has dropped. Ted, are you ready for basketball season? Come on, man.
No,
What?
I'm not ready for basketball season. I'm not even ready to start thinking about basketball season. I'm not even ready for football season yet.
We haven't even had our radio dinner yet. That's
right.
this week. Let's go.
I know it.
But yeah, schedule dropped, and it just feels so good. You combine the excitement, and I think I'm speaking for myself, and I think I'm speaking for a lot of people here in the state of Oklahoma. The excitement about OU football year one in the SEC, and you combine that with the excitement of the Thunder having a really, really, really good team, being the one seed in the West last year, like, and just having this schedule drop, dude, it just feels like it's going to be a great sports year. And that's why I was going through the Thunder schedule just with the smile on my face, because so many times I went win, 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 and I just refused to say loss like essentially every single game. It's just a good feeling knowing, you add Caruso, you add Hartenstein, you've got the core back, you Giddey moves on to Chicago, but it just feels, it's just really exciting knowing you're going to have a good team when the schedule drops. It's just a completely different feeling. Like, this is not the feeling I had last year. I was very optimistic, but this year at the schedule release, I'm like, we're going to be good. So let's go. I don't know. It's the first time in a while I've been super, super fired up when the Thunder schedule is dropped, just because I know we got a damn squad, baby.
I guess the only bad thing is the massive value last year in the over-under win total that was like passed by late February.
I told you, people, hammer the over. I told you to hammer the over.
It's going to be much more difficultly placed this year. But dude, I was surprised with how good they are, with they play a really good brand. They've got some really nice up and coming stars. I mean, he's a superstar, a bona fide superstar. I'm surprised they didn't have that many nationally televised games. I mean, they've got some, but not. I thought there would be way more.
We've got the 11th most nationally televised games. So those are TNT, ESPN, or ABC. Got 15 of them. Now also have 10 games on NBA TV. But yeah, and Andrew Schleck, our guy Andrew Schleck over at Down to Dunk, he basically has started a crusade against the NBA. He's like, they just hate Oklahoma City. They hate that we have a team. It's like they hate that we're good. But it is,
Maybe
yeah, I think
truth
it's
to that.
just, I think it's Mark. The only explanation is we're one of the smallest markets in the league. That's the only thing, because got a superstar in Shea. We were the 1 seed last year. Like Chet and J Dub are potential all stars this year. It doesn't make sense that, other than the size of the Oklahoma City market, like it doesn't make sense. And these guys are young and active on social media. And the only thing that makes sense is Oklahoma City's a lot smaller market than all these other areas that have more nationally televised games than us. That's the only thing that makes sense.
I I mean it. I hear you, but does that even factor in on a nationally televised game?
The Warriors have like the second most. So yes.
Okay,
But they've got Steph Curry.
but you would also think that a nationally televised game for the Thunder would be like when they're playing Golden State. Like I could understand if, you know, whenever they're playing Orlando, that's not a nationally televised game. But I would think that any time or more often when they're playing some of the bigger markets, the bigger fan bases teams, that they'd be nationally televised. But I don't
I,
know.
I'm with you. It's frustrating. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. They did
Are
get
there
an off.
do some of those flex at all? Like later in the year, whenever do
That
they
happened
change some of
last
those?
season
Yeah.
with a couple of those, but it is what it is, man. Personally, I kind of love it because they didn't get a Christmas Day game, which the fan base was salty about. Didn't get an opening night game, which the fan base was salty about, even though the opener at Denver, it's going to be sweet.
That'd be a
And
good
that one
time.
is on TNT. But I, I'm hoping it just kind of gives the guys on this team like a little extra chip on their shoulder. Like, hey, you should have put us on national television more. We're the best team in the league.
Yeah.
You made it. You done fudged up. Like, that's
Yeah.
what I hope we're saying, midway through the season.
Yeah. What, getting close to 2 months out. Um,
October
so
24th.
we don't have to have your preseason pick just yet, but start developing it.
I will start crafting it. We do have the most back to backs in the league, 16.
Shocking.
It's the most back to backs of any team that made the playoffs last year.
I'm sure that's just
Do you think they look at it like, they're
coincidence.
still young. It's fine.
Just a total coincidence. Total coincidence that the nationally televised games, all the other big opportunities they missed out on. Oh, and the most back to backs. It's just strictly coincidental.
And I'm sure it's a coincidence that Thunder Spurs 3 nationally televised games. They're not trying to make Wembanyama versus Chet Holmgren a thing. Not at all. Not one bit.
Yeah.
By the way, the 15 nationally televised games, only 3 of them are home games. That seems like a wildly low percentage to me. Maybe the NBA does hate Oklahoma City. Don't want to send their broadcast crews here. We're nice. We've got great food. What else could you ask for?
Oh, I can totally imagine the broadcast crews complaining about going to Oklahoma City. That's probably makes more sense than anything.
Their loss.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know why, but I could see that being the case.
OU will have played 7 games before the Thunder play their first game. I'm just imagining a world where the Thunder are about to tip the season off against Denver and the Oklahoma Sooners are 7-0. And my sports vibes are just immaculate. I'm manifesting it, Ted. I'm speaking it into existence. 7-0 Oklahoma Sooners win the Thunder tip off and beat Denver on the road to start the season and
Who do
just
we
flex on everyone.
Who's our game right there closest to the 24th? We would have played Texas, we would have played South Carolina. Ole Miss?
Ole Miss, I'm pretty sure because I looked it up earlier. It will
Are
be,
we
yeah,
going to
because
be
Ole Miss is the 26th. We'll be on our way to Oxford on the 25th.
we'll be we'll
We'll
be
be on
like
the plane. We'll be on the team plane celebrating a Thunder dominant victory the night before. That's what we'll be doing.
I thought it was going to be we're going to be talking about the Chet trade to wherever right before the season starts. No, we're not going to do that. That ain't
You
gonna
you
happen.
you shut your mouth. My loser of the weekend. I'm going the NFC North because I think the Chicago Bears got themselves a quarterback.
I didn't
Got
see it, but I kind of read through their last preseason
he
game. Sound
played
like
he
he looked
played a
pretty
whole
good.
half. Slow start for their offense, but is playing within himself. Caleb Williams, he looks great. He looks great. He looks he looks the part. And he didn't have an eye-popping stat line against the Bengals in their preseason game. 6 of 13 for 75 yards. He did have a rushing touchdown, which was, I mean, it's just one of those classic, like he extends the play, he spins, and then he, runs into the end zone. He had a couple of those, Ted, where he's just, he's got a little gift for creativity when it comes to extending plays that it's just hard to teach. And maybe it'll get him in trouble at some points in the season. But this is the bottom line with Caleb Williams for me. There's always a little doubt when you're a franchise and when you're a fan base when you take a quarterback number one overall, especially when you're the Bears. And it feels like you just haven't been able to find the guy at the position. He looks like the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like at the very least he's going to be a very solid starting NFL quarterback. Like that feels like the floor for Caleb Williams, but it feels like the ceiling is very, very high. Like seeing him under center, just handing the ball off in zone and carrying out fakes and then running boot off of that stuff. Like it all looks good. The
Yeah.
mechanics look good. I think that he's displayed that special elusiveness that he's got, but he's also been able to play on time and in rhythm. And it seems like Roma Dunze, another guy they picked in the top 10, it seems like they developed a really good chemistry. It looks good for the Chicago Bears, man. It does. He looks good.
Yeah, and I'm looking at their schedule, and I mean, compared to what some teams get, I mean, all schedules are going to end up being hard in the NFL. There's no doubt. But I mean, it actually looks okay for them. You know, there's kind of a ramp up. They are at the Texans in week 2, but I mean, fairly manageable. They play. I mean, 4 out of their first 6 games are at home, so you get to kind of maybe get in a nice little comfort zone there. No, I'm with you. It feels like he's kind of settled in a little bit there. I haven't caught any of the Hard Knocks yet. I need to get caught up on those. Have you seen them?
You're not missing much. Not much going on.
Okay.
Not much going on. I wouldn't say the Bears are
Not a content
embracing the
machine.
access,
Oh, okay.
but it's, I mean, there's still some entertaining things. It's got to feel so good for Bears fans to know that they've, unless something horrible happens, they've got their guy for
We've
the
got a
next
quarterback. Yep.
decade. They got their quarterback.
Which is the hardest thing to do in the NFL is to get your guy. All right. You can't just go out and pick him up in free agency every year. It's like you've got to position yourself to where you've got a chance to get those guys in the draft. And yeah, and we'll see if this is the one for them. It's been a while, dude. The Bears have been average at quarterback for a really, really long time.
Best quarterback they've had in the last 20 years is Cutler.
Yeah. He was actually Cutler, he caught a bad rap, but he did some really good stuff for them. Just he, not a very inspiring teammate, I don't think.
Interesting attitude for sure.
Yeah.
But that fan base has to be ecstatic, but also I wonder if there's part of them that's a little scared, like we can't mess Caleb Williams up, can we? Like that can't happen. He's too good.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
They'd rather have him than not. I know that.
Yeah. As long as he stays healthy, which is like that's the thing I get worried about with him. And even in this last game, it sounds like most of his big plays were kind of outside the pocket stuff. I really worry about him trying to live that way in the NFL. It's a long season to try and live that way.
He'll learn quickly. I was thinking about his last year at USC. It's actually I was talking to some people at OU practice about this. That O-line he had at USC was awful. The fact that he was able to produce the way that he did a season ago is I don't think, unless you like sit down and watch the actual tape of how often these guys are getting beat and he's just running for his life. It was because I remember I dove deep into their tape, like trying to find snaps of Tarquin.
Yeah.
When he was transferring, it was shocking how bad that offensive line was. And they've done a nice job. Basically, he's done a nice job. They've invested some in the offensive line there. Chicago, like I think we're going to see a much better version of Caleb Williams, even though, yeah, he's going to make some mistakes that rookie quarterbacks make, but he's just not going to be running for his life like 50% of the time that he drops back. And I think that will result in a much higher level of play.
You don't think Miller Moss is going to be able to scramble around the same as Caleb Williams?
I don't know, man. You mean Miller Moss, 91st best player in all of college football?
That's
Guy's
right.
played one game.
That's right.
Makes sense. Whatever. Maybe he ends up being great. I don't know. But yeah, Bears got a quarterback. That's the way it looks to me. Birthday shout outs. Welcome to the world, Lena Louise Bergen. Bergen. Bergen?
I think it's Bergen. At least the person I know that has their name spelled that way, it's Bergen.
Bergen. Bergen. I'm going Bergen. Lena, welcome to the world.
Happy first birthday to Brady Della Vadova.
Happy 7th birthday to Oliver Hansen.
Happy 24th birthday to George Walker, Texas Ranger Williamson.
Hell yeah, brother. Happy 28th birthday to Sam Davis.
Happy 38th birthday to Stephen Carter.
And happy 62nd birthday to David Davis. On that note, episode 449 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please tell all your friends. Believe it or not, it's hard to believe, I know. Some OU fans, they still don't know this podcast exists.
What?
Tell all your friends, people. Get them listening. Let's go. We gotta continue to grow this monster. Hope you all have a great start to your week. Till next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.